Okay, so today marks a year since I started learning Japanese. It's currently 11:47 February 1, so I'm trying to get this video, start filming this video before the end of today. I've been thinking about doing this video, and the main thing I wanted to talk about in this video is my journey so far, like how I started, what I've done so far, what I've learned, the mistakes I made, and more uh, the main reason why I want to take this video is for myself, just as a reflection of what I've done in learning Japanese in the past year and looking into the future. So just, you know, bringing together all my thoughts so that it can prepare me for my next year learning Japanese. So this video, like I'm filming for myself, but so I might not upload it to YouTube, but I might upload it to YouTube. So if you see this video, that means I decided to upload it. It depends on how it turns out, right? So let's jump in. Right now, I'm in my dorm room, so no fancy video editing or background stuff. But anyway, let's jump in. So I started learning Japanese around 1st of February. It's not like exactly, but I just want to take 1st of February as the date. So it was because I was gonna come to Japan for exchange student, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna spend a year in Japan, or 2 semesters, so approximately 8 months. Why not learn Japanese? At the time, I thought that, oh, I would be fluent in Japanese if I studied hard for like a year. So let's say from February to December, something like that. I would be fluent in Japanese. But yeah, no, impossible. Yeah, at the time I thought that, and so that's why I was like, okay, I will learn Japanese so that I'll learn Japanese for the first like 6 months before I come to Japan, so that when I come to Japan, I would be reach a very high level. That did not happen. I would reach a very high level to actually have conversations with people, make Japanese friends, and speak fluently in Japanese, and I would use that as like practice. And then after a year, I would be completely fluent in Japanese, and then I would use the other like 4 months just I'm already fluent, so I'll just be interacting with people. Um, Again, like I said, that did not happen. However, I want to talk about what I did to learn Japanese, and I think that's more interesting than why I started to learn Japanese. Because why I started to learn Japanese isn't that interesting. It's just because I was gonna come to Japan. So before learning Japanese, I had learned German. When I say learn, doesn't mean I'm fluent. Means I, like no, like everybody that learns language traditionally, do Duolingo, watch a couple YouTube videos, and like just practice the language. I don't know, once a week or something, and then you call yourself learning the language. So I had done that with German in the past, and how I learned German was through Duolingo. I mean, big mistake, but give me the benefit of the doubt, guys. I didn't know better. So Duolingo, and then this program called Pimsleur. Pimsleur is an audio course where they speak in English, and they ask you to say that thing in your target language. So for German, it would be say good morning, and then like imagine yourself in a scenario and you meet a woman and you want to tell her good morning. What do you say? And then you say it in German, and then after they give a space, like a space of silence where they give you a chance to say it, and then after that, the native speaker says it, and then you compare how you said it with how the native speaker said it, and then they build on top. So at first you start with simple stuff, and then they build on the course, and you get to say more complex stuff. So this was what I used to learn German. I got to like this five. So this 30 minutes in every lesson. There's 30 lessons in every like level, and there's 5 levels. So overall, there's 150 um, sections, or like, what did I call them? Sections? 30, 150 of them. Each one is 30 minutes. I got to about the third level in German, which is like 60, 30, 30, yeah, 60 something, and 70 something, between 60 and 90. And I mean, I couldn't speak German. Like I forgot all of the German I knew. However, why I'm bringing this back is that when I wanted to learn Japanese, I'm like, huh, Pimsleur, I was kind of actually interested and I liked it just because, I just listened to it, I learn, and I don't have to like spend time actually reading a textbook. Because I did that also with German, where I downloaded like a German textbook and I was like using it to study, and that was like paying for me doing the textbook. So I ended up dropping the textbook and just doing Pimsleur and Duolingo. So I was like, oh, why not? Let's do Pimsleur. Because that's the only way I know how to learn a language. So I started doing Pimsleur, and I would listen to it every day when I would go to the gym, or when I would just walk on the streets of, probably would have mentioned the city, yeah, on the streets of my city at the time. And so yeah, that's how I started. And you know I would it started very basic, like konnichiwa, genki desu ka, kenkyu, yeah, tenkyu wa do desu ka, something like that. Tenki ga ii ne, something like that. And so that was February. Let's count months. February, March, April, May. I was doing Pimsleur almost exclusively. So just listening to the lessons and just learning. So same thing with German. The Japanese Pimsleur also has 5 levels, and 30 minutes each. That just. And so basically for February, all of February, all of March, all of April, all of May, 4 months, I did exclusively Pimsleur. Every day I would listen, not every day, but most days I would listen to one episode because that's what they recommend. After I got to like the third level, I started doing multiple episodes per day and then re-listening to them. So instead of doing one episode per day, I would do like, I don't know, 2, 3 episodes per day, and then but I would listen to them in 2 or 3 days. And then at the end, I just started like binge listening to them. And I thought, genuinely speaking, that once I finish Pimsleur level 5, I would be fluent in Japanese, or I would be able to have a conversation in Japanese. That did not happen. And again, throughout these 4 months, I've been doing Pimsleur, and I've been telling myself that I will be fluent once I'm done with Pimsleur. Okay? And that kept me going to finish Pimsleur. And when I finished Pimsleur in May, it's like first week of May. Oh no, I don't remember. It was in May, not first week, but in May. I finished all 5 levels, all 150 episodes of Pimsleur in Japanese. And I'm like, okay, let's put this to the test. Then a friend introduced like a Discord channel to me where you'd go and it's Japanese English exchange Discord channel. It's very popular. You maybe know it. And I went there and I was trying to speak to people, and I just realized. So I went there and I was listening, because you listen to people. I listened and I didn't understand anything. I mean, since I've done Pimsleur, I would catch 1 or 2 words from now and then, but that's not enough for me to actually understand the full sentence and understand what they're saying. And when I also tried to speak, I realized that I couldn't speak. At the time, I was very shocked, but now I'm thinking Atarimai. Like now, I'm thinking it's like what Atarimai? I don't know. Now I'm thinking that it's like Atarimai, but at the time, I I didn't think that. I was shocked because I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to be fluent. I'm supposed to be able to understand because I was doing film and I was a bit. Uh, how do you say ochkondari? Ochkonde ochkonde mashita. Like, I was down. No, that's not how you say it. No, I don't remember. But by the way, yeah, I was just feeling a bit down at the time, and so I'm like, oh, so I can't actually speak Japanese. So I was like, okay, how else can I improve my Japanese? Then I just what I learned at the time was podcast. Oh, no, no, no. Learning languages from stories. There's this YouTuber, I don't remember his name, but like he does YouTube channels and I don't know. He has like a I don't remember his name, so I'm not gonna try to describe him or his YouTube channel. But he's very popular, and I watched a video of him on YouTube about using stories to learn languages, where you listen to the story, you don't learn any grammar or anything, but you listen to the story and then you try to pick up um, vocab from the story and the grammar concept from the story. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. How can I do that podcast? So I searched on Google, learn Japanese with podcasts. Or no, not podcasts. My bad. Podcast came after. Learn Japanese with stories. I searched that and I found Noriko's podcast, and she has like stories in her podcast. And I'm like, oh, okay, I will listen to that. I listened to it, man. If you know Noriko's podcast, not the standard one, the Nyongo Storytime podcast, that one, the Japanese there is so simple, right? And but I didn't understand. I didn't understand. I mean, I understood like in the beginning and like some words from here and there. I didn't understand anything from that podcast. So I'm like, wait, even after doing Pimsleur, now I don't understand this. But then I felt a bit down, but I was like, oh, okay. Then I will continue just learning this one. Maybe if I do the podcast and the story time stories, then I would be able to speak Japanese. So that also kept me going. So May, June, July, I listened exclusively to Noriko's story podcast. And here's the strategy I used. Now I'm not sure whether it's good or bad, but I'm leaning more to the side of bad. But let's not evaluate. I'm just gonna say what I did. So I would listen to one episode like tens, like hundreds of times. I would listen to it because it's like 5 minutes, like 3 minutes. I would put it on Spotify somehow. I can add it to a loop. I'd have to add it to my queue, like the same thing multiple times. But I would listen to it again and again and again and again and again and again until I like memorized it, you know. And so that's what I did. And then after I had memorized it, then I would record myself repeating the same story. So I think this is what I did, and then after that I would move on to the next episode, and then I would do the same for that episode, and then I would move on to the next episode. And this was just mostly passive listening, honestly. Like I was just there. I think I was busy doing work, and then I'll just put it in my ears, and then I'll just be listening to it. But then when you listen to something enough times and it's short, then definitely you are going to memorize it. So I didn't make that much. So here's the thing: when I listen to it, I actually don't understand. How did I solve this problem? I listened to it like for a day, so that to familiarize myself with the entire story, and then I would use Spotify transcription to translate it. So I would go on Spotify, I would click on the transcript, and you would see it as she talks. I would see the text and listen at the same time. Then I would pause it. Then I would use my phone. I have Google Lens. I would click on the like home button. There's no button, but like the home area, and then it would highlight the entire page, and then I would highlight the text, and then I would click translate, and then it would translate it to English, and then I would understand that part, and then I would, go out and then continue listening and basically transcribing, using the transcript to translate the entire thing and follow along the story, and that way I can not necessarily translate individual words, but use translation to understand what she's saying, and now it's going to be easier for me to pick up words I already know. So here's one more thing I learned in this phase, which is that you know a word doesn't mean you're going to catch it in a conversation or in a audio you hear, right? I realized after I do the transcription translation, I would somehow like magic, but it's like I would now observe, or I would conceive of words that I didn't conceive of before I did the transcription translation. So doing this, I improved my vocabulary a lot, and within this 3 months, I think that set me up for, first of all, it set me up for understanding that being fluent in Japanese is much more than I had assumed in the past. So this was the first wake up call for me that, oh shit, I might not be fluent in Japanese, because I see how easy, the things she's talking about are, but I still can't understand them. And one more thing is that, so before I say this, I'll say that the first time ever that I listened to a Noriko story podcast, that I understood the main gist. I didn't understand all the words, but I understood the main gist from beginning to end, was around July-ish. And I remember that day I was in a bus and I was listening to this, and I was following. I think she was talking about her life story or something. It was like, oh, she was born in Japan, she married a Peruvian, something like that. And she was talking about like what she did in university. I listened to that from beginning to end, and I understood the gist of what she's saying, and that was a big deal for me. Like, I was so happy. I had my friend close to me. I was like, oh yeah, I just listened to my first podcast that I understood, the main gist. And he was like, oh, congrats. And I'm like, oh, I was so happy that day. So I began to so now when I listen to more Noriko's podcasts, I'm like, oh, I cannot understand this. I would need to search like a couple words, but then overall I will understand what she's talking about. I'm like, oh, okay. So I've started to reach some saturation point with Noriko's podcast. So then I started looking for a bit more complex podcast, and then on Spotify I found a couple. I found Roten Radio, Koten Radio. I don't remember the full name, the correct name. I also found Yu Nihongo's podcast. I also found Wasabi. Is it Wabisabi or Wasabi? The woman. I don't remember how the channel is called. So the first time I listened to Yu's podcast. Oh my god! That day was the day that I knew that I do not understand Japanese at all, because I didn't understand nothing. Zero. Obviously, I would pick up words. I mean, yeah, but too fast, too much complex words. Like, I don't know. I just didn't understand anything. And so I'm like, okay, this is it. And then at the time, I also like researched some stuff about natural Japanese and Japanese you used to learn. So I knew in my head that, oh, Noriko's Nihongo Storytime Japanese is not what do you call it? It's for beginners. And that's not how, it doesn't cover the big categories of the Japanese language for you to only become fluent by listening to Nihongo Storytime. So at the time, around July, I was looking for something more than Noriko Storytime Beginner podcast. So Noriko also has a normal podcast, right? And at the time, I watched some YouTube videos that say that if you want to listen to Japanese, listen to a person you want to sound like. So I was like, and some of the criteria that was mentioned in the video, I think it was Matt versus Japan. I'll come to Matt versus Japan's, like, you know, part of the thing later. But it was like, if you are if you're a man, listen to a man. If you are young, listen to someone that is also kind of young or like within your age range, just so that you can sound more natural, you know, as you do your input. So that I was like, okay, then I'm not going to listen to Noriko's podcast. I'm not also going to listen to Wasa. I don't want to butcher the name of that channel. Koten Radio though was like many people speaking, and they used like very hard, um, you know, language, and it was many people speaking, and I wanted to have someone. I think it was called a parent. Yeah, Mad vs. Fan calls it a parent, something like that. I watched the video randomly, and then I'm like, okay, Yu Nihongo podcast, it is then. Then I started listening to it, but yeah, matako wakaranai. Like I don't understand anything. But then, with technology, you can solve many problems. So I started doing the same thing I did for uh, Noriko's podcast in terms of transcription, translation. I started doing that on Yu Nihongo's podcast. But it's tough. Yu Nihongo's podcasts are like an hour, like 40 minutes, 15 minutes. It's like it takes me an entire day or 2 days or even 3 days to transcribe one episode. However, after I transcribe and translate, then it becomes kind of more easier to understand. And then I would listen to the same podcast over and over and over and over again. And then after like 5 times listening to it, I am able to follow. And this was a time when like my vocabulary and my perception of Japanese just went through the roof. It's like at a very short time, because I'd been doing a lot of. I did Pimsleur 5 seasons. I did Noriko for like 3 months. So I had a lot of things that I've learned, but I've not seen used in a full speed native conversation talk. I wouldn't say conversation because the Unihongo podcast is like just him talking. Yeah. So then at this point I was like, oh, I remembered, from Yu's podcast words I'd already learned in the past, and I learned many new words as well. And because I would listen to the podcast again and again and again, I would have chance to practice the vocabs that I've learned, and also I had started to have more feel of how natural Japanese sounds. So now I want to transition to talk about how I learned about AJATT and Mad versus Japan. So there was this guy in YouTube, Torrenton. I think that's the name of the channel. He has like I don't know, like a avatar of a guy, a short dude. I don't know how to describe it. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but you probably know Torrenton on YouTube. I haven't seen him upload videos recently. I think the last video was like a year ago. But yeah, would frequently just go to YouTube and search how to learn Japanese. And I found this Torrenton video. And he talked about input, listening, watching Japanese TV shows. But before he went into that detail, he mentioned that most of the things that he was gonna say in the video, he got them from Matt versus Japan. And I was like, okay. Then I watched the Torrenton video, and then okay, as you know me, I would watch the Torrenton video again and again and again because if I find something I like or something that I learned something from, I would watch it again and again because I find value in doing that, and it's just something I do. After watching the Torrenton video again and again, I'm like, oh, who is this Matt versus Japan then? Because I agreed with Torrenton, And I was like, oh, if he got this idea from Matt versus Japan, who is this Matt versus Japan guy? And then I just googled Matt versus Japan on YouTube, and then that was when I found the wealth of knowledge that was on YouTube published by Matt versus Japan, and I just started watching his videos, and that was how I got to learn about AJATT. That's how I got to learn about the input hypothesis. That's how I got to learn about input before output. That's how I got to learn about, you know, um, all the other things that are popular in the community. Um, yeah, so how did it go for me? At this point, I'd already been studying Japanese for like 6 months. I can't count. 6 months. And, um, let's see. 6 months studying Japanese, it kind of started to click on me that I'm not going to be fluent in Japanese for a very long time. I have started to okay it, uh, accept. I've started to accept that reality, and then I was like, in order for me to be fluent in Japanese, I had I knew that I had to do two things. I knew that I had to listen to something. I had to listen to something that fulfills two criteria. The first criteria is that it must cover the entire range of, you know, concepts and ideas that I would need to express myself in Japanese. So, for example, if I listen to only Noriko's Nihongo Storytime podcast, that wouldn't cover a conversation that I would have with in like a business setting, or like, you know, having like deep conversations with people. Um, so I knew that has to be a criteria, and the second one is that thing has to be interesting. So it can Nihongo Storytime podcast is cool, but it's also interesting, but it doesn't fulfill the first criteria. But interesting in the sense that, you know, it has to keep me going, keep me coming back to it. And at this point, I found a YouTube video on Japanese Pod 101. It's like about listening practice. It's a 4 hour video, and they start very basic, and it's just listening. Just listening. It starts very easy, and then it moves to advanced, and like intermediate, and then advanced. And then it's basically stories. Like, oh, and then you. So they first ask you a question. No, no, no. 男の人と女の人が話しています。So it's like they give you a background, like, oh, this person is talking to this person, and then they say, oh, 男の人はその後何をしますか? So it's like, say what the person is going to do, and then they would give a dialogue, and then you would answer the question at the end. And so I would listen to this. It has like 4 hours, and I would listen to it from beginning to end. And again, like, you know me, I would listen to it multiple times. And then when I listen to it multiple times, I would listen from beginning to end. And then the first initial like 1 hour started to become very easy for me. So when I would re-listen, I would re-listen from like the first hour mark to the fourth hour, and then the 1 to 2 hour mark became more easy, and then I would start listening from the 2 hour mark to the 4 hour mark. And this is a lot of stories. But then I still thought that this wasn't interesting, really. I mean, also, I thought that it doesn't cover the entire range of everything I need to know in Japanese for me to be able to use Japanese. So I'm like, I was at the time looking for a better study method. And after watching Matt versus Japan at the time, I was like, oh, the only thing that satisfies both criteria, which is covering all of the scenarios and ideas and concepts I would have to express in Japanese, one, and being interesting, is movies, TV shows, anime, like those things. That was when it hit me that, oh, if I want to be fluent in Japanese, this is the way to go. And at the time, I was, mm, I knew that, yeah, like it was a bit of a downtime for me because I knew that, oh wait, now I've been learning Japanese for this long time, and I'm not gonna be fluent in like the next couple years. That was when I actually realized that. But I was like, okay, then I will, try as much as possible to improve as much as I can. And after watching like a lot, after consuming a lot of Matt versus Japan content, I got to understand the input hypothesis. I got to understand the AJATT method. I got to understand why it works. And that was in around August. Then that was when booked. I had I paid for a Netflix subscription, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch some movies, I'm gonna watch some TV shows, and I'm gonna become fluent in Japanese. At first, I would just watch. So at first, I would just watch one episode. I would watch and rewatch. So I would watch with English subtitles. And at the time, my Japanese was, I had done Yu in the past. I'd done Noriko. I'd done Pimsler. I was beginner, but if I hear something that I already know, I recognize it. I knew the basic stuff like ikimas and other stuff, tabemas, things like that. I knew. So, I would, I would just watch, and then things that I don't know, just don't know. You know how when you watch a Japanese TV show or movie, and they speak, and it's like just like noise to your ears. It just enters, but it doesn't enter. You hear blah, 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 and then you hear tabemas, and then you recognize tabemas, but the other part you don't know. But then you have the English jimaku, like these subtitles, so that helps you know what they're talking about. But then when you watch again with no subtitles, I don't want to say that's effective, because like even when I watch without subtitles, I'm like I still don't catch what they are talking about, and that was a problem because I'm like, this is not really a good method, and I don't really learn. Obviously I learn, but I don't learn as much as I would like to, because a lot of the parts I just listen to are noise, and I was like, oh, this is a problem. And then I went back to YouTube and I was like researching, and I found this gem, language reactor, and I saw this person's entire setup in Netflix plus language reactor plus Anki plus ShareX. Yes, and I just copied that. I'm like, this is what I want. So okay, I want to give a sideway here. My Japanese learning has just been like this. I try something, I like it, it works for me, I continue doing it. Then as I try it, if I realize there's a problem with the method I'm using, I go to make research. And then I come back, and then I apply the things that I learned from my research, and I improve my approach. Sometimes I do a little bit too much research, and I like end up spending more time learning how to learn Japanese. I'm sure if you learn Japanese, you understand this, or any language even. Learning how to learn Japanese without actually learning Japanese. I sometimes do a little bit too much of that, but overall, I, maintain that. And so I noticed a problem. I went to YouTube. I found a solution. I implemented it. So I had this setup where I had Anki, I had Netflix, I had Language Reactor, and I had ShareX. So I would watch shows on Netflix in Japanese. At the point I started with romance, because I think Matt versus Japan or something, they were like, oh, romance, they use simple language, blah blah blah. I started with romance. I was watching like Tarareba Onna and like Hirugao and like all those. I don't know, man. Like when I spoke to my Japanese friend on the TV shows I watched, she was like, "Oh, that's very eh, strange. Like they are not mainstream TV shows." But I don't know. At the time, I didn't know. I was just getting started, and so I had that set up where I would use language reactor to pause after every subtitle line, right? And then I would hover over each word, and when I found a subtitle line that has many words that I didn't know, I'll just hover over each word and like, oh, this means this, and just move on. But then when I come to a subtitle line or sentence where I understand everything, but I don't understand one word, that's N plus one. I also learned this from Mad versus Japan. I learned many things from Mad versus Japan, like too many. Like I don't know, everything I use now mostly come from Mad versus Japan. So yeah. Um, then I would copy that, paste in my Anki, and I would copy the audio using ShareX, record the audio using ShareX, put it there, and I would use AI. At first, I was using like translator, but then also Mad versus Japan said, "Oh, use AI." Like, oh yeah, he uses AI to translate, and it's actually very good because you can tell AI, "Give me pitch accent." I'm gonna come to pitch accent later. I At this point I wasn't doing pitch accent, but as I was progressing, I was prompting AI, "Give me pitch accent, give me English definition, give me Japanese definition in Japanese, give me examples, and give me an interesting thing about that word, maybe like pop culture or something." And then I would give it, and then it would give me, and I'll just copy paste it in my Anki at the back of the card, and then I would take a screenshot of that scene and put it at the back of the card as well. So the card is going to be the sentence, the front is going to be the sentence, and then the back is going to be the definition, the audio, the picture. Yeah. And I did this from September, October, November, December. 4 months. I accumulated like 1,500 cards on Anki. And yeah, that's, you know, I'm proud of myself for that. And then one more thing I learned from Mad vs Japan is, and this is golden, this changed, I think, okay, in 4 months, my Japanese level basically skyrocketed more than I can ever, imagine, to the point where actually the day before yesterday, I tried N1 sample questions. Um, and I got like, there were 18 questions in like a random website. I don't remember the website. I just went to test myself. But there were 5 listening questions, and I got all 5. So my listening level is to that level. My listening level is to that level. I don't know. Yeah, it's to that level, and it's all like thanks to this 4 months, and with the one what's it called, pivotal thing that I think contributed to this is this. When I watch a movie, TV show, I convert it to audio, and then I would listen to that audio. This thing, doing this, because when I do this, I already have gone through the series. I have hovered over each word on the subtitle line. I have taken words and put in my Anki from that TV show. So it has become wakariyasi, right? And then when I listen, I'm basically like combining everything. So I'm practicing vocab. I'm practicing how Japanese naturally sounds. I'm practicing expressions. I'm practicing agatari, like how speech goes up and down, because I know the scene, right? And I also learned this from Mad vs Japan. And this is like a very important. My Japanese level wouldn't have been the way it is now if I had not done this. And that's still part of this 4 months. What else did I do within this 4 months? Let me see. Yu, yes. So for a time, like for a month or two, I didn't really listen to Yu as much. I was just like doing this Netflix thing. When I went back to listening to Yu, in September, October, I started to understand like 50-60% of what you're saying. And like, what the hell? So this, like, just a month or 2 months of just practicing doing this Netflix thing. Now, I didn't understand 100% of what he's saying, or obviously these things, but I'm able to follow most of his episodes and the stories he's saying in the episodes. I'm like, that's insane. That's insane. That's crazy, right? And then I came back to listening to you more often. So when I would be on my laptop, like working or doing something, I would listen to the movies audio. But then when I would, you know, go outside, then I would listen to Unihongo podcast. And for 4 months, basically, this was my training. What I've just been doing. And then, obviously, every day I would review my Anki. I would, do that consistently. Actually, I mean, yeah, actually, yeah, I was consistent in Anki, doing my reviews for like 3 months straight. Yeah, like some days obviously it would be like right before I go to bed, or even when I'm on bed before I sleep, I would do my Anki and I would like do them fast. So those days happen, but overall I do my Ankis, you know, very consistently. And okay, that's 4 months. Then December, I'm like, huh. I watched Mad vs. Japan's output video, starting output, where he had like a kimono and he had like fans, and he was like standing like that. Anyway, I don't know if that expression is accurate, but I watched that also. Like, you know me, I watched that video like tens of times, and I'm like, huh. I noticed something because I'm in Japan, right? I came to Japan in September. Even though my listening is very high level, like I said, I like got perfect score in the N1 test I took. Oh, by the way, the Japanese Pod 101, I realized it's the same format as the N1 test I took. So that was where they got it from, right? Because I listened to that like in July, June. I never knew about N1. Like I mean I knew about N1, but I never like wanted to take it. So I didn't have any practice, so I didn't know. But yeah, when I did the practice, I realized that, oh, maybe they got it from N1. But back to what I was talking about, I realized that my Japanese is very disproportionate. I have spent all this time listening, doing input, but when I try to speak, obviously I'm not fluent even in listening. But I was just like, I want to speak. I want to like at least the things I can understand, I want to speak, right? I want to be able to speak, but that's not true. I can understand many things, but I can't speak them. I can speak like 30% of what I can understand. And I wanted to balance that. And I also listened to a video where Mad vs. Japan was like, oh, um, he was like critiquing the AJATT method where, oh, doing input, AJATT says just do input and then output is going to sort itself out. But then Mad vs. Japan was like, oh no, I think it was in the starting output video. Mad vs. Japan was like, oh, that's not that's not 100% true. It's true that you should do input, but output is also something you have to learn. And he felt that he had spent too much time doing input before starting to do output. I'm like, okay, I don't want to repeat that mistake. I'm going to start output really quickly. Also because I really wanted to talk to people, and I'm like, I want to start learning how to talk. Yeah. And then I started doing the things that he recommended. One more thing was kanji. I'm like, if I want to be fluent in Japanese, right, I am always going to be like at a disadvantage, like handicapped, if I can't, if I can't, if I can't recognize kanji, if I can't read. And I'm like, I need to solve that problem. And so this is one thing. I listened to Mad vs. Japan a lot since like July. But one thing that he says that I didn't take was learning kanji. I mean, obviously, AJATT, he said that I'm not really familiar with AJATT. everything I knew about AJAT, I heard from Matt versus Japan. I read like the AJAT website once ever, like the table of content. I read it like once ever. So he said that AJAT says that learn kanji before you even learn hiragana and katakana, like right at the very start, at the very beginning. And you know what? I do agree with that. Because again, I don't want to give justification, but I agree with that. Maybe I'll talk about justification like I don't know sometime. I don't have much time right now, but I do agree with that. And I felt that the 1 year I've spent coming across many kanji. By the way, when I do my Anki, like the past 4 months, I've been doing my Anki, right? And I've come across kanji many times, but they since I don't have a dictionary entry for them, dictionary entry, Mad versus Japan, they just pass by my head. I don't like capture them, right? And I'm like, I need to change that. I don't want to be a handicapped fluent. I wouldn't be even be fluent if I, you know, can't read. And I also wanted to, read some Japanese manga and stuff in Japanese. And I'm like, okay, I need to fix that. So in January, end of December, I paused my Anki for learning vocab, and I started learning kanji from RTK. Again, how to use RTK, I learned from Matt vs. Japan. There's a video. I watched that multiple times, and that's why I said I agree with him regarding learning kanji even before hiragana, katakana, like at the very beginning, because every other practice you do of kanji, you already have the dictionary entry, and it would serve to reinforce, the kanji you've already learned. Whereas now, 1 year I learned no kanji. All the kanji I came across were like noise, and it's like kind of wasted. If I had done the kanji study before, every subsequent kanji learning would be reinforcing the kanji I know. But regardless, I'm like, okay, I want to start learning kanji, and yeah, now I'm still learning kanji. I've done like 600. I think today marks the day that I do 600 RTK kanji, and I do 20 per day, and I review, and I haven't done today's one though. Hey, it's past midnight. It's fine, I'll do it. What else did I want to talk about? Okay, I think I've covered, in this video I wanted to talk about my whole journey from February 1st to now, and that's basically it. Right now, the practice I'm doing from like December to now, it's like kanji. I'm still watching Japanese TV shows. Now it's much easier to understand. Like I can watch without subtitles and follow the story, but I don't understand 100%, especially in movies where they talk like fast. I like if I use that's the thing. If I use the subtitles, I can pause and I see the word and I know it. But if I don't do that, it passes as noise. So yeah, I still watch it, but I don't do Anki. I don't like before. Whenever I pause, whenever I see a new word, I put it in Anki. But now I don't do that anymore. I just watch, and if I see a new word, I just like, oh, this word means this, and just move on. Because my Anki space is only for doing kanji at the time. I'm gonna resume doing Anki for vocab, but probably after I've learned 2000 kanji. And then, so right now I watch TV shows and anime. I'm actually my roommate recommended Freeland to me, so I started watching it today. Yeah, I do that, and then I do kanji. Obviously, I have started shadowing. So you remember I said I wanted to practice output. Yeah, I started like recording videos where I talk to myself in Japanese, but that doesn't go well because I can't actually talk fully in Japanese, and it's just like a bit annoying, to be honest. So it wasn't very consistent. But shadowing, I realized, is actually really nice. So here's how I do shadowing. Oh, the phone is dead. Oh, it's dead. I wanted to have like showed you, but I do shadowing by listening. Obviously, I still listen to Hongo's podcast. So I listen to Hongo's podcast every day, obviously, and then I use my headphones and I put them on, and I would hear the what he's saying, and in real time I would be repeating, and then I would use my phone to record what I'm hearing. Oh, sorry, to record what I'm saying. I would do this for 10 minutes, and then I would re-listen to it for 10 minutes. So overall, it takes 20 minutes. Guess where I got this from? It's a bit modified because my vs Japan has like an entire setup, so he doesn't re-listen. But I don't have that setup, so I re-listen. So he says do 20 minutes. I do 10 minutes doing, and then 10 minutes re-listening. Overall 20 minutes. I don't know. Maybe I'm, taking a little bit too much from Matt vs Japan, but bro, every Matt vs Japan video I watch, every single one has is very insightful. I learned from it, and there are not that many people on this earth that I can say the same for. So yeah, Matt vs Japan is, I learned a lot from him. And so after that, yeah, so shadowing is part of it. Yeah, so watching Japanese TV shows, listening to you, shadowing, and doing kanji. Okay, I've talked about what I've done up till now. What do I plan to do in the future? What I plan to do in the future is, okay, obviously continue these 4 things, and I'll continue shadowing, and then I would probably, I've done 600 kanji. I'm probably going to finish 2000 kanji in April. Kinda. And once I'm done with 4000 kanji, I plan to start listening to audiobooks. So I would listen to audiobooks just to practice my kanji readings. Right now, RTK, I kind of, because I know vocabulary, right? When I see a kanji, I want to know how it's said. And most times I know the word, but I don't actually especially the onyomi reading, I don't know them. So to learn those, I will listen to audiobooks, and then I plan to do that for the next 6 months after. So maybe for the rest of this year. So I will learn kanji maybe to April, and then between April to December, I would practice my reading. So I would listen to audiobooks, and then after I listen to an audiobook fully, I would try to read it without the audiobook, without the audio. I would just read the book. And again, I got this from a mistake Matt vs Japan said he made, where he would read a lot, and so unfortunately his pronunciation kind of got bad, because when you read, you say it to your head. He started reading too early, so but then what then to solve this problem, I would listen to the audiobook, so I would know what the words are and what they sound like, and what the readings are and how it's been pronounced. And then obviously I've been doing input for a year, so I know what Japanese sounds like, obviously, and a lot of the words I know. Well, some of the words I don't know, but majority I know how they sound. So when I'm reading, I'm sure I'm going to be reading also in naturally, like the pronunciation in my head is going to be natural. But yeah, I plan to train my reading, my kanji. So by the end of this year, I plan to be able to read fluently, be able to listen fluently, and have a ton of vocabulary in my, deck. And output, yeah? So until April, I will continue shadowing. And for the rest of the year, I will start recording myself talking and recording myself talking and then listening to it after. So that's the output practice I want to do. So yeah, I divide this year into 2. The first part where I learn kanji and shadow, and the second part where I learn to read using audiobooks and actually start producing my own output. And then the two things that that I would maintain in both first half and last half of this year is listening to Yu and watching TV shows and anime. I do that now. I'll continue to do that even in the other half of the year. One more thing I'm thinking about is grammar. I've never ever, like 100% of my Japanese learning is audio. Even before I knew AJATT, like Pimsley was audio, like Norigo was audio. Even before I knew AJATT, I was just doing audio. I've never opened a Japanese textbook since I started learning from February. Um, yeah, I plan to do some grammar learning, because Mad vs. Japan like kind of recommends it, or like I don't know, because it helps with the output and it helps with the input, because it can give you, you know, it helps with the input, something like that. Yeah, so I will do that. Maybe I will not, honestly. When I'm done with Anki, Japanese, kanji Anki, I will return to my normal deck with my vocabulary and any new words I see from TV shows, from the audiobooks I will use. I will put them in the Anki and I'll continue doing Anki. Yeah, so I think that's about it. That's my plan. Um, Mistakes I made. Ah, mistakes I made. Not knowing AJAT about AJAT a little bit earlier, because I did Pimsleur, but how how effective Pimsleur is very debatable. Did I Was I inefficient? Could I have gotten similar basics that I've gotten from Pimsleur in like a month or two, maybe? Do I have any regrets? I didn't know any better, so I don't really know. I don't want to get stuck in that loop of, um, you know, Tarareva. Would you understand Tarareva? If you haven't seen the movie, the TV show, you might not know. But like, koshita kereba yokatta no ni na, something like that. But no, I don't want us to get stuck in that. But yeah, I've seen a couple interesting TV shows. My favorite Japanese actor is, I don't know his name actually. Yeah, I don't know his name. I watched a couple TV shows that and he's very popular. So there's this one, La Grande Fran, La Grande La Grand Maison Tokyo, something like that. It's about cooking, and he's a chef. He's like the lead chef. In the TV show, his name was Obana. There's another TV show where he appeared, and he was a civil engineer, and he went into prison and he escaped from prison. Oh, I love that TV show. His name was Kariyama. Kariyama. And then there was another TV show. Oh, is it Ryojo or something? It's called, I don't remember, but he's like a police trainer, and he's very harsh, and it's just like a crazy TV show. I also love that. So that guy, if you know what I'm talking about, that guy, any TV show I see him, I just watch automatically because I know seeing him as an actor in a TV show is like a heuristic to know TV shows that are good. Now I'm just doing Jikan Tsubusu so to make it video an hour. But I think I've spoken about all the things I want to talk about. Also listening to Norigo's podcast over and over and over and over again, one episode, was that inefficient? Maybe. Maybe I should have listened to, a more variety. But again, no regrets, because, now I think I'm pretty satisfied with the routine I have. And, I'll continue doing this. Yeah. I think I've said everything I want to say. And, I'm probably going to upload this on YouTube just as a record to keep for myself. But yeah.